The spotlight burned hotter than any stage light Meghan had ever faced. Yet it was the single pair of eyes in the front row that truly set her on fire. There sat Kinsley, unchanged after 10 years, her green eyes steady and unblinking under the same San Francisco auditorium lights that had welcomed thousands of TED speakers before her. Meghan's mouth went dry mid-sentence. Authenticity isn't a choice, she had just declared to the packed house of 400. It's the only way forward. The irony clawed at her throat. The audience shifted, sensing the crack in her polished delivery, phones already rising like a wave of silent judgment. 10 years earlier, in the sleepy college town of Ashland, Oregon, Meghan had been a different person entirely. She was 20 straight A, the golden daughter of a Texas oil executive father, and a church organist mother who still sent weekly devotionals via email. Kinsley had been the wild card assigned to her literature group project, the art major who wore paint-splattered jeans and quoted poetry like it was oxygen. Their first real conversation happened in the campus library stacks at midnight, surrounded by dusty Shakespeare volumes. "You're holding back," Kinsley had said, tilting her head with that half-smile that would later haunt Meghan's dreams. "I can see it in your eyes." Meghan laughed it off then, but something inside her shifted, like a lock clicking open for the first time. They started meeting secretly. Picnics at Lithia Park, hands brushing under blankets, whispered promises under the stars. For 6 months Meghan lived in a bubble where love felt possible. Kinsley would trace circles on Meghan's palm and say, "One day we won't have to hide." Meghan believed her. Until the photo surfaced. A roommate, jealous and bored, snapped a picture of them kissing by the creek, and somehow it reached Meghan's mother through a chain of church friends on Facebook. The phone call came at 2 a.m. "This ends now," her mother hissed, voice trembling with righteous fury. "We will not support a daughter who chooses sin over family. You'll lose everything, Meghan. Everything." The words landed like stones. Meghan hung up shaking, the weight of generations of expectations crushing her chest. She planned the breakup for weeks, rehearsing lines in the mirror like a bad actor. On a rainy Tuesday in the campus cafe, she looked Kinsley dead in the eye and delivered the killing blow. "This was never real for me. I was confused, experimenting. I need a real future, Kinsley. My family is right." Kinsley's face drained of color, coffee cup trembling in her hands. "You promised me forever," she whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. Meghan stood, grabbed her bag and walked out into the downpour without looking back. She told herself it was mercy. She told herself she would forget. Back in the TED auditorium, Meghan forced the rest of her talk out on autopilot, smiling the practiced smile that had landed her sponsorships and book deals. But every word tasted like ash. When the applause finally erupted, polite yet uncertain, she stepped off the stage on legs that felt disconnected from her body. Kinsley was already waiting in the wings, arms crossed, expression calm in a way that terrified Meghan more than anger ever could. "Congratulations," Kinsley said quietly, voice carrying the same warmth it had 10 years ago and none of the pain Meghan deserved. "You made it just like you planned." The words hung between them like a dare. Meghan opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The past had just walked back into her life, and this time there was nowhere left to run. Security tried to steer Kinsley toward the exit, but Meghan waved them off with a trembling hand. "It's okay," she managed, though nothing felt okay. They ended up in a small green room backstage, the kind with bottled water and a fruit platter no one touched. Kinsley sat on the couch, legs crossed, looking every inch the successful gallery curator she had become. Meghan paced, heels clicking against the tile like a countdown. "Why are you here?" she finally asked, voice cracking on the last syllable. Kinsley's laugh was soft, almost kind. "Your talk was advertised everywhere. Overcoming adversity. I wanted to see if you believed your own words." The silence stretched until it hurt. Flashbacks hit Meghan in waves now, uninvited. After the breakup she had thrown herself into pre-law, then switched to public speaking when she realized words could be armor. She dated men her parents approved of, hollow relationships that ended in polite goodbyes. Each time she smiled for family photos, she felt Kinsley's absence like a missing limb. Meanwhile, Kinsley had left Oregon the week after graduation, moving to San Francisco, building a name in the art world. Meghan had stalked her Instagram in secret for years, torturing herself with glimpses of a life that looked full. She never liked a single post. In the green room, Kinsley leaned forward. You froze when you saw me. Everyone noticed. Are you going to pretend that was nothing? Megan's hand shook as she poured water she didn't want. I didn't expect you. After what I did, Kinsley cut her off gently. What you did was choose them over me. I survived. But I never forgot the way you looked at me that last day. Like I was something you needed to erase. The accusation landed softly, yet it sliced deeper than any shout could. Megan sank into the opposite chair, the weight of 10 years pressing her down. Outside, the after-party buzzed with networking, but inside this room the air felt too thin. Kinsley stood, smoothing her blazer. I'm not here to ruin you, Megan. I just wanted to see if the girl who broke my heart had become the woman she claimed she needed to be. She paused at the door. Turns out some secrets don't stay buried. With that she left, leaving Megan alone with the fruit platter, and the echo of her own TED Talk still ringing in her ears. Authenticity she had preached. What a joke. That night Megan drove the winding streets of San Francisco in her rental car, windows down, cold air whipping her face. She replayed every moment from Ashland, every lie she told herself to survive her parents' disappointment. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Saw clips of your talk online. Proud of you, honey. Keep shining. The words tasted like poison now. Megan pulled over, forehead against the steering wheel, and cried the way she hadn't allowed herself to cry since that rainy Tuesday in the cafe. By morning the first viral clip had already surfaced. TED speaker freezes mid-talk. What's she hiding? The comments were brutal. Old college acquaintances she hadn't spoken to in years suddenly remembered the rumors. One even tagged Kinsley. Megan stared at her phone in her hotel room, coffee going cold beside her. The past wasn't just sitting in the front row anymore. It was spreading across the internet like wildfire, and she had lit the match 10 years ago. The backlash arrived faster than Megan expected. By noon her agent was calling, voice tight with damage control. We can spin this as emotional overwhelm from your powerful message, he suggested. Megan hung up without answering. Instead she booked the next flight home to Austin, Texas, telling herself she needed to face her parents before the story reached them through church gossip. The plane ride was a blur of turbulence and guilt. Every mile closer to Texas felt like traveling backward in time. Her childhood home looked exactly the same. White columns, American flag flapping, the faint scent of her mother's lavender potpourri. Her father opened the door, smile wide until he saw her face. Megan? We weren't expecting you. Inside, the living room still held the same family portraits, Megan smiling beside her brother at every milestone. Her mother emerged from the kitchen, wiping hands on a dish towel. Honey, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Megan told them everything, or at least the version she could stomach. The TED moment. Kinsley in the front row. The viral clip. Her mother's face hardened the way it had a decade earlier. That girl again? We thought that chapter was closed. Her father paced, voice low and dangerous. You built a career on overcoming hardship. If people find out you lied about who you are, everything collapses. We won't let that happen. The threat hung unspoken. Support? Money, inheritance, all conditional on silence. Megan felt 20 again, small and terrified. That night she lay in her childhood bed staring at the same glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Memories flooded back unfiltered. The day after the breakup, Kinsley had left a single rose on her dorm doorstep with a note. I'll always love the girl you really are. Megan had thrown it away, terrified her roommate would see. Now that rose felt like evidence of every lie she had told herself. She pulled out her phone and typed Kinsley's name into the search bar again. Her gallery showed new exhibitions, glowing reviews. Megan's thumb hovered over the message button, then retreated. Back in San Francisco 3 days later, Megan scheduled a meeting with Kinsley at a quiet cafe near the gallery. Kinsley arrived in a cream sweater, looking composed. You flew to Texas to talk to them, didn't you? She asked before Megan could speak. Megan nodded, ashamed. They still don't accept it. They never will. Kinsley stirred her latte slowly. And you? Do you accept it yet? The question landed like a mirror. Megan realized she had spent 10 years running from the answer. That afternoon they walked the Embarcadero, the Bay Bridge glittering in the distance. Kinsley shared pieces of her own life. The therapy, the new relationships that never quite filled the hole. The decision to move on. Megan really listened for the first time. When Kinsley finally said, "I forgave you years ago, but forgiving yourself is harder," Megan felt the first crack in the armor she had worn since college. The past was no longer a secret. It was a living thing between them, demanding to be seen. The confrontation with her parents escalated through a series of brutal phone calls that left Megan raw. Her mother quoted scripture while her father threatened to pull the financial strings that still supported her speaking career. "We raised you better," he growled. "Don't drag our name through this filth." Megan hung up each time shaking, but something inside her was shifting. For the first time she didn't apologize. She simply said, "This is who I am," and let the silence stretch. Word spread faster than she could contain it. An old high school friend from Texas posted a vague, praying for Megan message that went viral in their conservative circles. Comments flooded her TED video. "Hypocrite. Liar. She used us all." Sponsors began emailing polite cancellations. Megan canceled her own appearances, retreating to a small Airbnb overlooking the Golden Gate. There, surrounded by unpacked boxes and half-drunk coffee, she began writing the truth she had avoided for a decade. Kinsley visited unannounced one rainy evening, carrying takeout Thai food and a bottle of wine. They sat on the floor eating straight from cartons while Megan read aloud the draft of her new talk. "I denied the person I loved because I was afraid," she wrote. "That fear cost me everything real." Kinsley listened without interrupting, then said quietly, "You're finally saying the words I waited 10 years to hear." Their hands brushed, reaching for the same spring roll, and for a moment the old electricity sparked, tempered now by time and pain. But redemption wasn't clean. The next morning Megan's brother called, furious. "Mom's in tears. Dad's talking about cutting you out of the will. Is this really worth it?" Megan stared out at the fog rolling over the bay. "Yes," she answered, voice steadier than she felt. "It is." That afternoon she posted a raw video to her social channels. No makeup, no script, just the truth. "I loved a woman once. I let fear take her from me. I'm done hiding." The internet exploded again, but this time alongside the hate came messages from young women across America saying, "Thank you for saying what I can't." Kinsley watched the video with Megan that night, shoulder to shoulder on the couch. "You're brave," she said. Megan shook her head. "I'm 10 years late." Kinsley's fingers laced through hers briefly. "Late is still here." The touch was brief, but it felt like the first honest thing Megan had allowed herself in years. Outside, the city lights blurred through the rain, mirroring the storm still raging inside her. The community that had once praised her now split in two, half cheering, half condemning. Megan realized the real battle wasn't with strangers online. It was with the girl she had betrayed in that Ashland cafe, and with the woman she still wanted to become. The chain of confrontations reached its peak when Megan's parents flew to San Francisco unannounced. They appeared at her Airbnb door at dawn, faces drawn with the same righteous anger she remembered from college. "We saw your video," her mother said, stepping inside without invitation. "How could you humiliate us like this?" Her father paced the small living room, pointing at the laptop still open to comments. "This isn't you. This is that girl's influence all over again." Megan stood her ground in the kitchen, coffee mug trembling in her hands. "That girl has a name. Kinsley. And she was the best part of me." The words surprised even her. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "We only wanted to protect you." Megan set the mug down. "You wanted to protect your image. I'm done paying for that." The argument stretched for hours, voices rising and falling like waves. At one point her father threatened to leave forever. Megan simply said, "I love you both, but I love myself more now." When they finally walked out, the door closing with a soft click, Megan slid to the floor and sobbed until her chest hurt. The family she had sacrificed everything for had just walked away, and strangely she felt lighter. Kinsley found her there that evening, sitting on the floor surrounded by tissues. Without a word she sat beside her, pulling Megan into a gentle hug. "They left?" Megan whispered against Kinsley's shoulder. "They really left." Kinsley stroked her hair the way she used to in college. "Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us unconditionally are the ones who teach us the hardest lessons." They stayed like that until the sun set, the city humming outside like it always had. That week Megan attended her first public support group for LGBTQ women in their 30s who had come out later in life. She listened to stories that mirrored her own. Family ultimatums, lost years, quiet regrets. When it was her turn, she spoke honestly. I broke someone's heart to keep my parents' approval. Now I'm trying to build a heart that can hold both truth and forgiveness. The room applauded softly, and for the first time Megan didn't feel like a fraud. Kinsley met her afterward at a nearby bookstore cafe. They browsed shelves together, shoulders brushing, talking about everything and nothing. I'm seeing someone, Kinsley admitted quietly. Megan's stomach dropped, but she forced a smile. I'm glad. You deserve happiness. Kinsley turned to her, eyes soft. So do you, Megan. Even if it's not with me. The words stung, yet they also freed something. Redemption, Megan realized, didn't always mean getting the girl back. Sometimes it meant learning to live with the love you once destroyed. Months later, Megan stood on another stage, smaller this time, at a local LGBTQ center in Oakland. The audience was intimate, maybe 60 people, many of them the same women from her support group. Kinsley sat in the third row this time, not the front, giving Megan space while still showing she cared. Megan's new talk wasn't polished TED material. It was raw, imperfect, and completely hers. I spent 10 years running from the girl I loved because I was told she would ruin my future, she said, voice steady. Turns out denying her almost ruined me. She spoke of the guilt that still visited at 3 a.m., the family she had lost and the self she had finally found. When she finished, the applause felt different, warmer, real. Afterward, Kinsley waited outside under the streetlights, hands in her coat pockets. You did it, she said simply. Megan smiled, tired but lighter. Not without you sitting there reminding me why. They walked the quiet streets, the bay breeze carrying the scent of salt and possibility. No grand reunion happened. No dramatic kiss under the stars. Just two women who had survived the wreckage of a love once denied, now able to stand beside each other without pain defining them. Megan's career shifted too. She turned down big corporate gigs and started a nonprofit helping young women from conservative families navigate identity and family pressure. Her parents still hadn't called, but she kept their number in her phone just in case. Some nights she still dreamed of that rainy cafe in Ashland, but now the dream ended differently, with her staying instead of walking away. As she watched Kinsley disappear around the corner toward her own life, Megan felt the last piece of the old weight lift. The past had shaped her, but it no longer owned her. She turned toward the city lights, ready for whatever came next. In the end, after everything she had lost and everything she had fought to regain, one question remained. Was denying your true love to protect a family that could never accept you ever truly the right choice? Or was it simply the beginning of a lifetime of regret?